to a new episode of All Things Xbox podcast. Once again, I got Logan with me. Logan, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good. Had a pretty eventful previous week
Yep.
and lots of cool gaming announcements that have come out as well. It's been busy sports times over here. Lots of good news for everybody in all kinds of different categories. So life's been good over here. How about you, man?
Well, I'm still sick. I get these flu viruses for like weeks at a time, and it's so freaking annoying. But it is what it is. Been some good gaming this past week, and funny thing is, last week before the show ended, it was literally a few hours before the whole election thing happened in the US. Uh, People know how that turned out. We won't be talking about that stuff today, although we will be talking about some really cool regulatory stuff later on in the show, which does affect Xbox and PlayStation actually. Nintendo's kind of just in their own corner doing their own thing, you know. Um, but all that's been fun. It's been a good week for gaming news. And before we get into everything, Logan, what have you been playing this week?
Man, I've been dabbling in a whole bunch of different stuff. I've A new game came out today that Tetris Forever, which is basically a Digital Eclipse is a sister studio of Night Dive, and they're both owned by Atari, and they both specialize in retros and remasters, remakes, and like artful collections and stuff. Well, Tetris Forever is basically like a documentary in an interactive museum mixed with a brand new game as well. So they have all these old Atari games put into the game, and like in this campaign where you follow the history of Tetris and how they built the franchise and developed it and behind the scenes stuff and play all the different versions of the game that they put in this. And then a brand new Tetris game is in it that is more modern, and it's really cool how they do it. And I love documentaries and I love museums. Obviously I love gaming, so seeing them all mixed together is really cool. Highly recommend it. It just dropped today. Been playing a little bit of that. I finally started Black Ops 6
Nice.
and I'm really enjoying it. The I love the 90s just era, and the whole Cold War
Yep.
is, winding down, and there's, in the Operation Desert Storm time period, it's just really, really cool. Especially seeing like, oh yeah, I remember this event, or yeah, I remember reading about this and stuff like that, mixed with, obviously stuff as well. And so been playing that. Um see what else. And oh yeah, Spyro just dropped today in Game Pass. I've been playing that. And it's a lot of fun, and that's a topic we'll dive into more later, but holds up very well. Toys for Bob did a great job with it. And I've been playing this formerly Sony exclusive game, the Amazon delivery service simulator, Death Stranding. I've been quite enjoying it. How about you, man? What have you been up to?
Nice. We have the first super chat of the day by Nick Wendon. Thank you very much for the $10. He says, "Hi guys, hopefully you get better, Jamie. Thank you very much. I feel bloody awful today. Do you guys prefer shorter 20-hour games, or do you like longer 80+ hour games?" That's a good question, because I'm kind of all over the place. like, uh, if you could see my quick resume lineup, it's just short game, long game, short game, long game. The truth is, now I prefer the 20+ hour game. So whenever I hear a developer talk about how long their game is now, and they say, "Hey, this is a 30-hour RPG," there's this weight off my shoulders. I feel like more excited for it. That's why I'm excited about Avowed. It's one of the reasons why I'm excited about Exodus by the former Mass Effect developers, because that's going to be a 30-ish hour RPG, and there's just something about the 30-hour game length for a role-playing game, I just love. I talk about Crisis Core Reunion all the time. That's a 20-hour long JRPG, and that was perfect for me. I am becoming less of a fan of the 80-hour long games. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop playing them, because like I'm I'm obsessed. Like Elder Scrolls 6. That's going to be 100+ hours. The next Final Fantasy, whenever that comes to Xbox, that's going to be a long time. Who knows? I'm going to put into like Death Stranding or anything like that. But when it comes to game length, I'm very much leaning towards the whole 20, 30 hours. The ideal game for me is 30 hours long if it's an RPG. Perfectly fine with that. And if you go into your stats on Xbox next to the achievements, and it tells you the amount of time you spent in a video game. A lot of time I finish a game now, and I go to the stats page, and if it says 30 hours, I actually think more positive of the game, because just too many games have bloat now. I talked about Assassin's Creed Odyssey a lot. I love Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but that game is the size of a bloody continent. Like 90 hours of just me walking to the next location. And it's a beautiful game with great combat, and I like the characters and story, but it's just too much for me. 20 hours for me. What about you, Logan?
Well, to me, this isn't a simple black or white kind of answer. It depends on the game and the type of experience.
Yeah.
Like something like Hellblade 2, for example, that's like incredibly visceral and like very dark and heavy subject matter, and just like brutal and grim and just very heavy. Like if that was 100-hour experience, I think people would feel like they want to be in a padded room afterwards.
Yeah.
But so I think a shorter experience for that is perfectly reasonable and acceptable. Understand, makes sense. And then you got like Pokemon. Growing up, like I put hundreds of hours into those games.
Oh yeah.
Like gotta catch them all. Go to all the different towns. You know, beat the gyms, beat the Elite Four, evolve all the things, collect all the stones, and get all the move sets, everything. Like that adds up, but it's enjoyable and fun, and it doesn't feel like a grind most of the time. And then you've got some open world games like looking at you, Dragon Age Inquisition, with your hinterlands, which we always bring up as the example of what not to do. Like you've got some games with sections like that where it makes the game technically longer and bigger, better for those sections. It's like, yeah, we this could have been an email section. We don't need this. And so I kind of like you. I like that sweet spot zone.
Yeah.
And then for like an FPS campaign, maybe 10 to 12, 15 maybe. Um hours, and then but there are a few games that are like if I had an open world like massive Star Wars experience, or Witcher 4 or Cyberpunk, Elder Scrolls 6, whatever, something like that. Yeah, give me hundreds of hours, because there's so much I can live and breathe in these worlds, and every playthrough feels different. You're always discovering secrets and Easter eggs and hidden things, and you just see these things live out, and it feels right and it feels natural for it to have that much content and hours. But there are definitely some games that need to learn the less is more approach. That's kind of a convoluted way to say that I like both. It just depends.
Yeah. I mean, you know, before I get into what I've been playing, the whole game length topic, it's an interesting one, because I honestly believe that a lot of games bloat out their playtime just to justify the price. I've thought
Hmm.
this for years, and there's nothing wrong with like a huge open world game. Like look at The Witcher 3, right? The Witcher 3 is a game that I want to replay at some point, but I'm looking at what, 200 hours, because I want to do all the question
Really?
marks. Like that is a real big commitment. And would I want The Witcher 3 to be a 20-hour game? No, I like it for what it is, but I blab on about Mass Effect all the time. Those are essentially 30-hour games that you can stretch to 50 if you do everything, which I do every time. I just think that's a sweet spot, like Starfield, for instance. I think right now I've put maybe 160 hours into it, and I'll probably put maybe double that in the future, depending on like what other expansions it gets. But I don't really feel the need to get. I don't really get excited when a developer says, "Hey, our new game is 90 hours long." That does not excite me at all. In fact, it actually puts me off. Like you were saying with the Call of Duty Black Ops, I thought Call of Duty Black Ops was the perfect length for a first-person shooter campaign. I wasn't left wanting more. It just felt right. That said, I wouldn't have said no to an AC 130 mission, but I mean, I'm obsessed with those missions in COD. But yeah, I mean, look at Stalker 2 comes out in 8 days. That game, I honestly don't know how long that game's going to be. It has a
It's
absolutely
a juggernaut
yeah,
file.
yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, for people listening, you want to clear out close to 150 gigabytes on your internal storage because Stalker 2 is going to eat that storage up. It's going to be a big game. And then there's also a Flight Simulator dropping the day before, which I think is also 150 gigabytes. I'll have to double check. But yeah, and if you have an Xbox Series S, I feel sorry for your storage because that's 2 games just there. But yeah,
That's insane.
yeah. But yeah, at 20 to 30 hours is where it's at. But like Skyrim or Elder Scrolls 6, like if they say, hey, that's going to be a 300-hour long game, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm set. Horror games. This is a funny thing because Alien Isolation 2 is confirmed. By the way, I think it's coming out next year.
Ooh, that's a spicy take. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling I'm going to be right, but the thing is about the first game, a lot of people's main problem with the first game is that it's long, Now, I can't really talk about that game's length because I'm a scaredy cat when it comes to horror games. That took me
Yeah.
that took me 33 and a half hours to finish because I was crawling the entire time. Because I tried getting the achievement where you don't get killed. I failed. But like I slow walked that entire game, right? So like I made that game really long for myself. So I don't actually know how long that game is, but people pretty much said it was a long game. But when it comes to game length, it goes into what I've been playing. Metro Exodus. Now I've been playing Metro Exodus again because of a video I'm working on, and I'll say this: I had no intention of replaying the whole thing. I just planned on playing the opening 2 hours, and I got hooked. The next gen upgrade is possibly one of the best of this generation. And long story short, I broke my own save in 2017, and I sworn off the game. I don't even think I've talked about it on Twitter on my channel, but like I was like heartbroken with breaking my save in that game. And I don't think most people will ever experience what I did in that game, but I basically broke my own save. I couldn't progress any further forward without resetting the game. And I'm playing it right now, and Metro Exodus is freaking amazing. I finally reached the point further than I was before. I'm actually playing the game correctly. So yeah, Metro Exodus, it's amazing. Recently, I think it was 80% off or something. I think it was like $2.99 in the UK. It's an incredible game. It's a very hardcore shooter. And the funny thing is, every time I talk about Stalker 2 on Twitter, I get at least 2 replies going, this reminds me of Metro Exodus. It's because Metro...
Hey, about that.
Yeah, it's because Metro is inspired off Stalker. But yeah, great game. And I think, if you play the whole thing, that's about a 25-hour game. I've also been playing DeathStranding. By the way, I never thought I'd actually be saying that, on this channel. Like, oh yeah, I was playing DeathStranding on my Xbox. And I'll get into my thoughts on that later. But I will say this, I'm surprised. And by the way, they did a fantastic job optimizing that game for the console. Like, beautiful
Absolutely.
job. And it even runs at 60 frames per second on the Series S, which is fantastic. And by the way, I do think that's going to be a Switch 2 launch title. 100% believe that. But yeah, it's doing really well. And Fallout 4. I feel like I've been talking about this for about 5 months, but I love that game. Fallout 4 is amazing. What can I say? I'm very happy with that. I will say Fallout 4, it's the repetitive side missions that keep getting my attention. There's like these endless side missions you can do, and I didn't know they were endless until my friend told me. He was like, Jamie, there's no end to them, you know. So I was like, oh, so I spent like 8 hours just going back and forth doing these like mini side missions. But it's very good. It's very good. I'm going to be talking about Fallout 4 in a video in the future, but what can I say? Great game. Now, we have about a lot of big topics today, so we have to get into them right now. So, let's talk into these topics. Now, a new story broke the other day that's kind of big for me, and that is Mass Effect is getting a TV show on Amazon. Now, a lot of people tagged me straight away, asking me how I feel. Am I excited? The truth is, I'm excited and terrified at the same time. Because as much of a Mass Effect obsessed person as I am, I don't really want a TV show or movie. Because I don't think they could do it right? I can't even imagine the budget of a Mass Effect. Like, George Lucas back in the early 2000s wanted to do a big budget Star Wars TV show, but he worked out that it would cost $50 million an episode. This was before streaming services, and he never went forward with it because no, company would invest in that. It was too much of a risk. This was before you had TV shows like Game of Thrones that were making like a ridiculous amount of money, costing $20 million an episode. This is a different time, and ever since then, I've just thought a Mass Effect show would just cost too much, and I even sat down one day. This is how much of a Mass Effect nerd I am. I actually sat down one day and worked out how you would structure the Mass Effect trilogy into movies, and it worked out that you could.
I love this.
I'm so sad. I worked out that you could basically stretch the Mass Effect trilogy and do it properly in 7 or 8 movies. Yeah. The pandemic, yeah, I was stuck in the house a lot, so leave me alone. So like that's what I worked it out as, and I just can't see anyone really doing that justice. Christopher Nolan, that's too highbrow for Mass Effect. J.J. Abrams, people complaining about Bloom and all that stuff. Anyway, but I'm excited, and the person behind I was going to say Final Fantasy 9. Fast and the Furious 9, bit of a difference between them two, is going to be doing the story and script or directing or whatever. And it's like, I like the Fast and the Furious franchise, but you know what you get into with that? It's over-the-top action. Dwayne Johnson kicks a missile in that film. They're driving across like a frozen lake, and he kicks a missile away from the car. Right? That's what that film is. Now, when I heard about him joining the Mass Effect TV show, I'm not going to lie, I had a little bit of a panic attack. And people were on about how John Cena was posting pictures on Instagram of Mass Effect 2. People were freaking out. Honestly, I don't think that's the worst pick. Right? John Cena, he has range. He doesn't have Batista range, but he's got range. And, like, I've been clamoring for Henry Cavill to be shepherded in a Mass Effect project for years. Like, not even a recent thing. Like, going back to, like, the 2000s, because, Henry Cavill was huge and Tudors in the UK. Anyway, this isn't a Mass Effect podcast. I'm scared and terrified. Now, considering what they've done with some gaming properties, like people love the Fallout show, some people don't like the new Yakuza show. Which is it going to be? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? I don't know. Or I do hope Amazon throws endless amounts of money at it and Henry Cavill, but like that's basically my thought on it, right? I do hope they do it right because that's just more Mass Effect content for me to watch or like consume, and they'll sell me merchandise. you know, I'll be a consumer of products. Like Logan, what's your take? Because it is a big deal, and I think out of all gaming properties to get a new adaptation into TV, like this is potentially one of the biggest up there with like Halo and stuff.
Yeah, it to me it seems like a no-brainer. Like this is one that's perfectly ripe for a television series, like a premium network or streaming service series where you break the bank and you get a whole bunch of incredibly talented writers and actors, producers, everything, and you just go all in. Like if you do that, yeah, I think this could be amazing. And what gives me actually more hope for it is the fact that it is Amazon doing it. Amazon has a reputation for in some areas, but as far as like their streaming service goes, like the Fallout show is, and The Expanse is incredible,
Yeah,
and that happened
that's
to
a good
be
point.
like Jeff Bezos's like favorite thing, and so he bought the rights, and then he brought that show back and kept it going and funded obscenely expensive episodes to make one of the greatest sci-fi shows ever made. It was fantastic. So if if anybody can do it, I think they can.
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic. I do understand the concern, and John Cena would be yeah, I could see him play all kinds of different characters. He'd be a fun Rex or um several other guys, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm cautiously optimistic. That's what I'd say.
You know what? My opinion's completely changed since you mentioned The Expanse because I completely forgot that was Amazon.
Yep,
Yeah, and
they saved that.
yeah, and if I remember correctly, when when Amazon bought them, and I think it was like season 3 or something, uh, when they start funding it, you could see the budget dramatically increase because there was bigger
Oh
space.
yeah, it was night and day.
Yeah, there's like massive
Yeah.
space battles constantly, and yeah, you know what? I'm okay. I'm more excited. I completely forgot about that. I just hope to do it right. Like look, I'll be honest. If they pick someone other than Henry Cavill, I'm just gonna swear. I'm gonna be so angry. Um, but
Nicholas Cage, let's
yeah.
go.
Oh god. Uh, but hey, I'm excited, and plus, like, as a Mass Effect fan, I've got nothing to look forward to. Right, the the next Mass Effect game is years away. The comics aren't really much of a thing now. The books, we aren't even going to talk about the books. Like, as a Mass Effect fan, I've got nothing, nothing. I'm sitting here with nothing new.
I thought you got that board game, Jamie.
Oh god. Do you know how hard it's going to be to convince my non-Mass Effect friends to play a Mass Effect board game? Like, I've already admitted that I'm going to buy the game just to have on my shelf. So it is what it is. But hey, I'm excited. I just hope they do it right because I can't take any more Mass Effect news that's bad. I just can't do it. My body can't handle it. But we'll probably get news on that in the next, hopefully, year. I mean, it's Amazon. I'm sure they'll come out with like some event where they'll go over like the characters and all that stuff. But until then, I'm gonna be panicking inside. Anyway, we'll move on. So Logan, you want to talk about this? It's been 16 years since the last Banjo Kazooie game dropped.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting timing with Spyro hitting Game Pass, which is another topic, and how platformers had been in the news with Astrobot, and if it was a success or not a success, and is there a market for these? Is there interest in these? Xbox wanting more family friendly stuff, all that. I just thought it was interesting timing that it's been 16 years since we've had one. The Game Awards tweeted about it. A bunch of people are like, hey, yeah, we do want one. And I truly think that there is a desire for it. Whether they do make one or not, I guess we'll see. But it just kind of blew my mind that it had been that long since nuts and bolts, because I don't know why the pandemic probably just completely warped my sense of time, but I still sometimes think about the 360 as just last gen. Even like maybe that's been an indictment on this gen, is basically just like a part 2 of the Xbox One. But it still hasn't felt that long to me. And so it was just kind of eye opening that had been that long, that it's dormant, and platformers are people are trying to make them a thing again, and I hope they succeed.
Yeah, you know what? We'll wrap that in with all the other, you know, 3D platformer stuff. So Spyro Reignited Trilogy is now available in Game Pass. Now, that basically hit Game Pass last night. So why would it be much of a topic today? Because it got me thinking. So about a month and a half ago, the Crash Bandicoot games, the trilogy, and Spyro got listed for the Windows Store on PC. And we heard nothing about it since. Everyone just thought, it's going to be Game Pass at some point, which got me thinking, like, I think that's basically what Microsoft's going to do going forward. They're slowly going to get games rated for the Windows Store, put them on the Windows Store, and then boom, Game Pass. Which got me thinking, Singularity is now on the Windows Store. So are they preparing for more Activision games? Because, like, look, I've theorized for a while that they want in Game Pass to be filled with people playing Black Ops 6. It seems to be working really well for them. And my theory is that they wanting to get a few months of, people just playing that constantly, and then in early 2025 we'll get a big Activision drop, right? To me that makes sense. I think a lot of people have been waiting for back catalog stuff, but if you're Microsoft, like, do you want people like, if they put, let's say, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, which I mentioned this last week, like if they put Black Ops 2 in Game Pass today, a lot of people are just going to stop playing Black Ops 2 to play the old game, which doesn't have microtransactions. So, like, I think they're just waiting for the right time, because let me tell you, as soon as these old games do appear, they're going to be trending on Twitter. There's going to be people making these games will be top of the store, even though they're going to be in Game Pass again, right? That's it's crazy how big some of these games are. When the Call of Duty servers were fixed last year, Call of Duty Black Ops 1 had over 100,000 people playing. And that is without crossplay, and that many people were playing a old COD game, a 13-year-old COD game. So you've got to think, like, Microsoft, they just wanting people to stay on Black Ops, because Black Ops 6 is essentially a vessel for microtransactions. They have all the fancy skins in there. Season 1's about to start soon, or it already has started. And that is just a funnel for more content. And, like, from a consumer standpoint, I wish they just dropped that stuff now. But from a business standpoint, you have to kind of look at it as in, like, they obviously have to keep people in Black Ops 6. Logan, what do you think? Because it looks like more stuff is coming. It's just going to take a little bit.
Yeah, first off, I'm thrilled Spyro's in there. Like, I've been playing it today. Check it out if you've never experienced it. Great trilogy. Toys for Bob did a great job. I am eagerly awaiting the most likely Spyro 4 from them
Yeah.
at some point. And yeah, as for other games coming to the platform, I do really, really hope Singularity comes soon. And that backwards compatibility batch that we've all been waiting on, I hope that really happens, and happens soon. Itching at the seams for that. Been wanting it for a long time. It seems a no-brainer. But you make a really good point about not wanting to cannibalize the kind of zeitgeist of Black Ops 6. Because a big part of the catalog, BC, is some of those older Call of Duty games. And like Black Ops 2 in particular, but also Black Ops 1 with its um, zombies and its campaign. And then you've got the old Modern Warfare games. All of those a lot of people will flock to those and play the ones that they really loved and enjoyed. And Black Ops 2 continues to thrive even today. So putting that in Game Pass, it would cause a massive shift of focus, which I agree. I think is probably not what they want within a month of their brand new Crown Jewel launching. So I think it'll still be a little bit for those. But to me, I think they could still drop the stuff like a Singularity or a
Yeah.
Prototype or, some of the other BC games that aren't Call of Duty, because that way people who have finished the campaign or multiplayer that aren't like COD enthusiasts can play something else as well, and it won't detract from, you know, the moment of Black Ops 6.
Yeah, I mean, like, like I finished the Call of Duty campaign, Black Ops 6. Like, I'm playing the multiplayer maybe once a week. I've already said goodbye to a positive KD ratio, right? It ain't happening, not this time around. So like for me, I'd love more stuff soon. And like you said, if they drop things like Prototype or Singularity or the Transformers games, like the Call of Duty crowd, they don't really care. They're not going to be moving from Black Ops 6 multiplayer to playing the single player Transformers game. You know, um, I'm really hoping for those Transformers games. If
You're
Microsoft,
not the only one.
yeah, if Microsoft's listening, they want some like free marketing. Contact the uh Transformers One hype guy on Twitter, and
Yes.
yeah, and
Click note.
he'll let everyone on Earth know that the Cybertron games are coming because my God, my entire Twitter feed for like 3 months was just Transformers One, Transformers One, Transformers One. But yeah, they just need to get that stuff out there. I think a lot of people like us, we're tired of waiting, and like I get the financial thing, but come on, is Transformers Prototype? That's not really going to interfere with this stuff. Hell, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, they aren't interfering with Black Ops 6. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? I was going to save this topic for later in the show because it could get a bit heated, but we'll talk about this now. And this kind of went live just before the show started. So, you know what? We'll talk about this first. So, Arc Raiders, we've got some more game news to talk about. So, Arc Raiders was this sci-fi third-person shooter that was announced, I want to say 2 years ago. And it's a third-person co-op extraction shooter. Now, as soon as I say extraction shooter, I'm aware that a lot of people listening may just tune out because, like, I always get the impression that most people that listen to this podcast prefer single player games or lean more towards single player. But they dropped new gameplay today, and I must say, I got that weird Division 1 moment when, remember before the Xbox One or the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 were already out, and we saw the Division at E3, and it blew people's minds because a dude closed the door with his hand, like the person was going around.
Oh no!
Yeah, people were collecting water bottles with the hands and stuff. It was impressive. I got that Division thing today watching that Arc Raiders gameplay, and on console, an extraction game hasn't taken off yet. I've played I think it was called Vigor. It's not good. Played it, downloaded it, terrible. Don't know how people play that. Awful third-person shooter. They put an extraction mode in Call of Duty last year, which isn't that good, in my opinion. It gets boring fast. Zombies in extraction mode, it doesn't work, in my opinion. But like this might be the first extraction mode on console that looks like it's actually going to be good. And extraction games are a niche. A super niche at the minute because you have these. Yeah, so I'll explain what an extraction shooter is because believe me, I was confused about what an extraction shooter was up until about a year ago, right? Okay, this is embarrassing. I'm going to explain to people what I used to think an extraction shooter was. So you know how I can't believe I'm saying this. So you know how in battle royales you land in a map and the circle gets smaller and you have to survive, right? That's basically a battle royale to the last man standing. I used to think I used to think extraction mode was the reverse, where you just had to escape a circle. Yeah, that's the dumbest thing I've ever thought of. That isn't an extraction mode. So basically, an extraction mode is you get given some intel, you have to collect some things in this somewhat open map. You may be sharing this open world with other players or NPCs, and basically you have to get said item or information and extract out of a certain part of the map. That's essentially it. It's such a simple thing. DMZ in Call of Duty is essentially an extraction mode. Nothing in that mode is explained to players, by the way. It's just they throwing you into the deep end and just seeing what happens. But extraction modes on console don't really do that well, and we don't really have many. On PC, you have Escape from Tarkov, which a lot of companies are going to be chasing Escape from Tarkov. Trust me. But this looks like it could be the first major extraction shooter on a console. Over the next year and a half, we are going to be seeing several sci-fi extraction shooters. Another one coming to Xbox next year is called Exoborn, which is check out the gameplay. It looks phenomenal. Third-person shooter. You have like exoskeleton armor. It looks super cool, but it looks pretty cool. This Arc Raiders game. And like Logan, I already know what you're gonna say. You're not interested in the slightest.
Nope.
Yep. Yeah, it's not exactly.
But I'm happy for everybody
Yeah.
who is. I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah, extract like in like Marathon. That's gonna be another sci-fi extraction game. And another thing about extraction games that a lot of people don't realize is that they are not free to play. They are typically premium experiences, and I think that's going to be a hard thing to grasp for a lot of people, because if you want to play a multiplayer right now, be it Xbox, Switch, PC, PlayStation, you can fire up Fortnite, Apex, Call of Duty Warzone, and have a variety of things to do. But extraction games typically cost money, and it's a hard sell because a lot of people don't know what an extraction shooter is. Again, I thought it was just about escaping a circle because I'm stupid. And I think, a lot of people are going to think the same because, again, it's even though extraction shooters have been around for a long time, they're still like really niche. Most people don't know what they are. So I think people maybe need to watch the trailer that dropped today. It does look really cool, but it's only going to be for people that really like playing co-op games with some online experience. But outside of that, I think it's going to be a very niche genre going forward. But this is potentially going to be the first one on console that does relatively well. Again, the ones that's already on console are just awful experiences. And I say that as someone that wants to get into an extraction shooter, and I mainly play single-player games. So yeah, I'm all over the place. So, you know what? Let's talk about this. Oh, no, we have another thing. Genshin Impact is finally coming to Xbox in 8 days. Now, I've been seeing a lot of people ask about Genshin Impact coming to Xbox for years. Ever since it was first announced for the Switch and PlayStation 4, people have been wanting this game to come over. And then eventually went to iPhones and PC, and no port in sight. And it's finally coming to Xbox very soon. They dropped a new trailer the other day for the Xbox version. It looks good. There's a pre-order bundle, so even though it is free to play, you can pay, I think it's $9.99 in the UK, and you get a bunch of like special things. You get a glider, some outfits and stuff. I can't wait to play it. I'll talk about it when it comes out. But it's good to see it's finally coming out because, again, this is one of the most requested games for Xbox in years. And even though Jeff Keighley didn't bother, mentioning it properly in his own show, it is a big deal because Genshin Impact is absolutely massive. And I think it's going to be a new type of free-to-play experience for a lot of players. You can play solo or with other players. It's going to be cool. Look, it is basically a waifu collector simulator that's wrapped in a Zelda Breath of the Wild shell, which I'm all for. I'm all for more Zelda stuff on Xbox. But yeah, it's finally coming 8 days away. Logan, do you think you'll be checking it out?
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to playing it. I've heard great things. It looks like a lot of fun. Um, I know a lot of the discourse has been, comical, but it looks fun, and I haven't played too many gacha games, so I'm looking forward to trying that out and seeing what it's like actually. And besides this one, it looks like there's a good chance they're also bringing their Zenless Zone Zero as well to Xbox maybe in December. There's some buzz that Hoyoverse might be bringing that as well, so keep your eyes out for that one. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's cool. It's a waifu collector, and it has the pre-order bonus thing if you get it for like $10, and then also it will have periodic content exclusive to Game Pass subscribers to where like perks, but for this game you'll be getting a whole bunch of stuff. So they're definitely making the Xbox experience a premium one.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people will enjoy it because again, it has got that Zelda Breath of the Wild gameplay style to it. But hey, the waifu stuff, I'm sure people love it. We're obviously going to see the memes and stuff. And honestly, I've actually enjoyed the drama online when it comes to that. I mentioned it last week how and for people that don't know, the developer Hoyoverse made a game called Honkai Star Rail, which is a direct competitor to their own game, and the fan bases just battle each other online over which game's better and which games have the best waifus, and which
That's amazing.
yeah, and it's like I don't personally I don't get it, but I just think it's fascinating, you know, and like we got this better 5-star player for free, and you got nothing, and it's like the back and forth is hilarious. So hey, we're getting a brand new game on Xbox and with a little bit of drama, and it's not toxic drama either. It's just a funny back and forth. Maybe when you get deep into the community, I'm guessing it's going to get toxic. But hey, it's something else, you know. Always willing to try something new. Now let's talk about this. I was going to save this for later in the show, but let's talk about it now. So the PlayStation 4. I was going to say PlayStation 4 Pro. So the PlayStation 5 Pro just launched. It's got a bunch of reviews. People are kind of all over the place with it. But anyway, just before the show went live, they put out a new trailer. And they removed the price from the trailer. And basically, they re-uploaded the trailer to get rid of all the dislikes and comments. Now, I get what they're doing. You know, I've seen a lot of companies do this. I think one of the Oculus headsets had this issue when they raised the price back in the day, and that thing got decimated online. When that Oculus went up, I think it went up $100 in the US. People lost their marbles. Like they were like angry, understandably so, because that's a huge price increase for something. And I think the $700 price is going to have a negative effect on people, you know. Like, look at scalpers. Scalpers, by the way, scalpers are getting their karma. I can't stand scalpers of any platform, of anything. Scalpers can't make their money back, which I think's hilarious. But I do think the $700... Yeah, what a shame. I do think the $700 price point is a bit much. You know, we've talked about this before. And you know, for people that think, you know, oh, I'm just mentioning it because it's PlayStation. It's like, no, I think the whole mid-gen refresh thing. I've said it since 2019. It's not needed this time around. You know, when I've played games like, I don't know, screw it, Death Stranding, right? 4K 60 looks great. Have no problem with it. I think, you know, this time around, developers need more time optimizing their games because, like, some engines are still new. Unreal Engine 5 it's a great engine, but there's still work to be done on the optimization front when it comes to a lot of titles. But, like, $700, I'll put it like this. I'll use pounds. So £700 for a base console is $914. Right? $914. Let's add on the disk drive, so that's $1,000, and let's add the stand. So I think that's about $1,035. Right? That's just a lot for a console. You know, um, when we got our Xbox Ones and PlayStation 4s in 2013, like they did have their issues. I do think both companies launched kind of weak consoles compared to what we had in the past. Uh, but when we got the Xbox One X and when the PlayStation 4 came out, they essentially came out at the same price, you know. But the consoles we already had went cheaper. You know, the Xbox One, I think was going for about $250 in the UK at the time, similar to the PlayStation 4. And you know, you could buy those consoles fairly cheap, or you can get a One S or PlayStation 4 Slim. But like their Pro consoles were the same price of their initial launches. And what happened with the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5? Same deal. Same deal. The exact same price. I think okay, for some reason, Path of Exile's got an ad on my screen. Okay, that's weird. I think that the $700 price increase, and people defend it, like, people shouldn't defend price increases because, look, we're in a weird time. I don't know what the cost of living crisis is like in the US, but everything is super expensive. Uh, I think we pay like I think we pay 20 times more for electricity in the UK than the US. you know, um, that's what I get for keeping on my hardware all day. But like $700, that's a lot to ask. And if you're looking in pounds, like Logan, if when I tell you that the Pro costs $914 in the UK, like what's your thought of that?
Highway robbery, extortion, no thank you for a slightly upgraded version of what I already have in a PS5. And that's, me having to physically get a new disk drive to put in and the stand and all, like, yeah, I know it's a first world problem, but still, like, having to take the time to do all that stuff and buy this stuff, collect this stuff, to put it together, to have this thing, and, you know, the fact that they're nickel and diming everything, and yes, it is technically better than the PS5. Yes, it is. But is it worth that much of a price jump to upgrade from what you already have? Like, in my opinion, no. And I'm a graphics and fidelity snob. Like, I'll admit, I've got, curved 4K TVs, like 4K Blu rays, like the whole, like, I'm all about that kind of stuff. But to me, it's just not worth that jump for just a slight twinge of improvement. Like, if they had made it fully BC, like if they had made it to where I could play my PS1 to PS5 games on console natively or whatever, yeah, that would color me interested. Or something like that, like it added big new features or something. But for what they're doing, absolutely not.
Yeah. Uh,
And I would say the same for Xbox. Like, unless they did something dramatically huge leap, then no way. Thanks, I'm good till handheld or next gen.
I mean, for people that think I'm just mentioning it just because it's PlayStation, my tweets are still public. Like I've always thought the idea of mid-gen refreshes this time around was an unnecessary idea because the consoles we have right now
Agreed.
they are perfectly fine. I've never once seen a game this generation and thought, oof, that's blurry. Oof, that frame rate's terrible. Like I've never once thought that. And it's just all of a sudden now. The thing is, when you're on PC, if you want the best of the best, you're gonna get a fancy 4090 or something. You're gonna get a crap ton of RAM, a fancy CPU, and you're good to go. But you know what you're doing at that point. You are getting and plus when you get a graphics card, that's gonna be supported for a long time. But hell, I have a what is it? 1660 Super, but it's just for video editing, and I play 2 video games on the thing. Right? It it runs the games I play at 4K 60. Like I've not had any issues. I just think that you know, I with the Xbox One. we all knew that was kind of, it had its issues. With the Xbox, like, we went from 720p gaming, 720p, to native 4K. Native 4K. Red Dead Redemption 2, native 4K. Like, that was such a huge jump, and it felt like. And by the way, that Xbox One X we got was smaller than the previous Xbox, and it was way more powerful. There was like genuine excitement over it, and it just kind of annoys me that we were told for 4 years that power doesn't matter. Power doesn't matter. Nobody cares about power, and all the replies to my tweets say something like, "Can't wait for the PS5 Pro version, more powerful box." Like, why are we championing power all of a sudden when I was told that's something I can't look forward to? I was told that, hey, with this new generation of consoles, you aren't allowed to look forward to a new powerful console, which is kind of the point with the new generation. But like, I think that $700 price is just, it's off. Prices used to go down for consoles. The Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, I believe they're having discounts at the minute. And like, they should keep them at those prices. Bear in mind, in the UK, the prices of these consoles went up. Went up. Do you know why? They didn't have the balls, these companies, to do it in the US. They didn't. Do you know why? Because people in the US would have actually voiced the concerns and complained about it. Rightfully so. Over here, nobody, everyone let it pass. That really annoyed me, by the way. UK games media, let it slide. But I don't know, man. Like, just this $200, like, really think about $200 increase, because consoles are always meant to be cheaper. But I don't know. It's weird, man. I just think that, does the $700 console exist so they can justify that price next generation? Part of me does think that, because are they going to come out with a cheaper next gen console? Is Xbox like what if Xbox comes out with a $500 box to do the same thing again they've done the past two generations, or the past two main consoles? I don't know. I think it's a slippery slope. I just think I have seen this mentioned in the media a few times. Do I think the price of consoles will go up because of tariffs? Because of Trump? I don't know how that stuff works in the US, so I can't. Logan, you're actually from the US. What's the whole tariff thing in the US at the minute? Because it's completely different over here.
I haven't fully dived into that yet. Now that the election results have settled, I'll dig into it more. But from my understanding, it'll generally be like other countries bringing in stuff, like they'll be putting tariffs on them and stuff like that. But I'm not sure entirely what all industries, or if it's like a blanket policy, or if there are exceptions to things. So it's something I'd have to dig into more. I know more about the regulatory type changes and stuff that this administration will do. But as for that in particular, I'm not as familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look into it over the next week, and we'll probably discuss that during the next show. But like, in the UK, we joke about this in the UK that we have this thing called Apple tax. Like, everything in the UK when it comes to Apple just is conveniently priced way more than everywhere else. So like, let's say you have an $800 iPhone. In the UK, it'll cost like £1,000. Why? Just because, because they can get away with it. I think that we'll discuss the whole tariff thing next week. Main reason, I think that stuff's boring, but I mean, it may affect console sales or console prices in the US. Probably not in the UK, because that stuff's already messed up. But I think, why are people? Because I've seen this in chat, in other people's chats as well. People are okay with the 700 price all of a sudden, where it was 500 for two generations. Why is the jump to 700 okay all of a sudden? Bear in mind, they have security tags on butter in Sainsbury's, right? Butter shouldn't be costing nearly £10. All I'm saying is that, people should push back on this stuff. And like, I don't know. I think that if people should vote with the wallet, and they will, It's just that what even if people do want to buy it, don't give these scalpers money at all for anything ever. I do hope Microsoft and Sony they put something better in place for the pre-orders when it comes to next gen, because and it'll happen with the Switch too. Like it was brutal getting consoles like 4 years ago. Like Logan, can you remember what it was like in the US trying to get a console at launch?
Oh man, it was like absolutely like pandemonium. Like I remember I had a whole bunch of different tabs open, like all these different stores. Like I'm trying to get on Walmart, Best Buy, Target, GameStop, like basically anybody that had a pulse and would sell electronics. I was trying to just get tabs open and refresh to try to get the menus and things, everything to align to where I could get one. Thankfully, I was able to get one day one for through Walmart for my Series X, and then it actually arrived early, which was hilarious, and I loved it. Shout out Walmart. And then the PS5, I had to go through Best Buy, but I did get that one in a reasonable time as well. But it was definitely way more of a hassle to get them done than it was in previous times.
Yeah. I don't think I've talked about how I pre-ordered my Xbox. So I used my Microsoft rewards to get £100 off my console, which was very nice. But all I did was the morning the pre-orders went live, I literally woke up, turned my Xbox on, and ordered the console from my Xbox. Uh, but the confirmation page didn't go through, so I kept on clicking buy, and it turned out in my email I pre-ordered 6 Xbox Series X's without realizing it. And then panic
Oh
ensued.
no.
Yeah, and then I cancelled 5 of them. But that's how I got mine. And I've just seen in chat, and I had this idea a while ago as well. I don't know if it sounds ridiculous or if I'm just ridiculous, right? So I had this idea a while ago, and I've seen this mentioned in chat that to pre-order an Xbox, let's say on Xbox's website for next gen, you have to have a minimum of 10,000 gamer score, because all these normies, these scalpers that buy these consoles in bulk, they don't have any gamer score. They don't even know what a gamer score is, right? 10,000, maybe 20,000. But to me, that's a good idea. I don't know. What about you, Logan? Because like it's gonna be rough whenever next gen does happen, but I just thought it would be a cool idea.
Yeah, like I think number one, they have to find a way to deal with these like sniper bots
Yeah.
that keep happening to where, or scalper bots, to where they can buy up a whole bejeez amount and then sell them at ludicrous amounts online, and then some poor sod is like, well, I really need this, or I really want this system, or we want to get this for our kids for Christmas or whatever, and we need to get it, and we want to make sure we get it, so we pay some outrageous extortion type money to get one. And so that's the biggest issue. And then making sure, like you said, that actual gamers can kind of get a, I don't know, frontline or RSVP maybe, but like maybe like reward longtime people. Like if you've been like subscribed to Game Pass Ultimate for a long time, or you have a certain gamer score threshold, or you've been an active Xbox Live, something to where that shows like, hey, you're fully invested, you've been involved with this for a long time. We'll put you in a queue and we'll hold one for you or something, like we'll send you an email or something to be like, hey, we assume you're interested, but double checking, are you interested in one of these? And then like a way to kind of like place mark one to where you can for sure get one, because like we talk about Xbox's messaging all the time, but you don't lose sight of the people who've been with you since the beginning and that would be a really good way to help that.
Yeah, so what Logan is saying, dear Microsoft, send us direct emails, saving us a console each because it helps. But no, seriously, they need to
Yeah,
get yeah.
yeah, I didn't think about it that way, but
I mean, if anyone from Microsoft is listening, which I know some do listen to this, that isn't the worst idea. Um, but seriously though, like they need to get stuff sorted. Like that Xbox handheld, that's gonna sell out. That I mean, hell, in the UK, the Steam Deck was scalped. The the smallest version when it came to the storage, was going for about £900 in the UK. Like awful scalpers, don't know what they're doing. Hopefully they never make money again. Anyway, we'll move on. About an hour into the show. If you've enjoyed it, please hit like, share, and subscribe. It really does help with the algorithm. It helps the show grow and my channel grow as well. If you want to support the channel with super chats, want anything answered, all that stuff's appreciated and it goes back into the channel. And add over. So, let's get into this big one. Death Stranding. Shadow dropped on Xbox, which I kind of didn't see coming and no one else did. It didn't leak at all on any website. There was no rating board leaks, nothing. And it was basically announced for Xbox Series XS, Amazon Luna, and iOS. Yeah, iOS. And yeah, it shadow dropped out of nowhere. And it turns out, I'll get into how good it's doing. I decided to buy it straight away because of its impulse price. In the UK, it's $17.49, and I just couldn't say no. Long story short, I played for a couple of hours, maybe years ago, but it was like halfway through the game. So my opinion of the game was based on not knowing what was going on. I was again thrown into the deep end, but I thought, screw it, I'll give this game a chance. Again, it was a cheap price. I got it with my Microsoft rewards, so it was free. And it is a very unusual game. It is weird, but in a good way. It's Kojima weird. And I'm a fan of Kojima. I've been a fan of Kojima since Metal Gear Solid. That game is weird. It doesn't make sense half the time. Hell, I talk about Metal Gear Solid 4 all the time. That game makes no sense whatsoever, and when people say it does, they are lying. Right? And I say that as a huge fan of Metal Gear Solid 4. In fact, that's what makes that game good. The fact that it doesn't make sense. Death Stranding doesn't make sense, but it is good. It is very weird. It's a different type of game. I don't even think you can class it as a third-person shooter. One of the things you do early on in the game, is that you have to carry a corpse up a mountain. That was new. And music starts playing as you're walking across this landscape, and then it kind of just hits what that game is. The game has its very own vibe, and it just works. And what can I say? I think I like it. I know I like it. It's just a very weird game. Logan, before we go into like the overall reviews of it and the sales and stuff, like what's your thought on Death Stranding?
I'll be completely honest. I would before it came to Xbox, like I had bought the collector's edition on PS4 like ages ago when it was like on a one of those blue moon sales that Amazon would do. Like they would dramatically drop the price on something for like a day or two. So I was able to get it for like the collector's edition. I came with the BB and the suitcase and everything for like $60. I got it because I thought the stuff was cool, and I had really not played the game too much. So, going into it when it came to Xbox, I was like, wow, I didn't think this had an Ice Cube's chance of ever coming to this platform, but lo and behold, it's here. It's 50% off. I'll give it a chance. And I'm very glad I did because initially I thought it was hokey and was kind of just weird. Like, okay, Kojima, all right, get out of here. Like, oh, I'm just gonna walk around, deliver packages, and you know, bring everything together, and everybody's like, all this interwoven, this and this mumbo jumbo, just like, okay. all right. But after playing it, I'm like, you know what? I get it. It something clicked, and I get the vision. Like the idea, maybe it's this game is like almost like I think it benefits it now coming out again like this on a new platform than when it previously came out because now that all these people who are playing games have experienced a pandemic, which it having lived through all that, like it really does shape how I experience this game kind of. And like the views of and the narrative and like the gameplay of like trying to connect all, basically try to rebuild the United States through this, like, I don't even know, like, supernatural psychological Wi-Fi network is the best way I could describe it. And trying to basically be Pony Express and go across the entire United States from East Coast to West Coast on foot or on a little bike or other vehicles and just try to rebuild society and how isolation hurts people, but being unified together through a common cause and having everyone being able to reach out and support each other and be connected to something just truly gives humanity meaning and hope. And I I get it now. It clicks. I see what he's doing. It's visionary, and I love it.
Yeah, in one of my replies just today, someone described the story in the best possible way, and I had to search it up. So you're a delivery guy trying to connect the United States back together, basically the internet, and you have a baby that can detect supernatural entities. Your character can come back to life if you die. Everyone has a beach, aka their own personal pocket dimension. Now, that's
Yeah,
that's kind of
that's
accurate.
pretty accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool. There is a weird a walking mechanic in the game where you're leaning left to the right depending on what you're carrying on your back.
Oh, I hate it so much.
Yeah, I can see a lot of people getting annoyed with that really quickly. I just hold both down all the time. Thankfully, there are vehicles in the game, which is nice. But my God, like I do wish this game was on Xbox when I was stuck in the house. Because
Yes, I
that
think it would have done crazy.
Yeah, but outside of enjoying the game, and bear in mind, I'm still really early on. Like, I think I'm on chapter 2. I just got to Port, not City, which is like the second main, like, bigger location. Um, that was nightmarish material, by the way, trying to get there. Uh,
Have
und-
you fought the Nautilus looking thing yet?
no, I've stayed away from all the black goo things, uh, whatever you call them.
That's generally smart. Yeah.
Yeah. Although that probably won't last long because oh, you have pea grenades in the game. That's
Oh, and blood grenades
yeah, pea
and
grenades.
shower grenades.
Yeah, and make sure you like shower and have a pee in between main missions because you get grenades out of your own pee. I mean, it's original and it is a Kojima game. It's very weird, but I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are gravitating towards it. So on Xbox in the UK, it is now number 2 on the Xbox top paid section. Bear in mind, that goes by revenue, not unit sales, meaning it is outselling Call of Duty Black Ops. Crazy. Again, that impulse price. I think a lot of people will gravitate towards it because it is very different to everything else on the platform. And I also did some extra research. It is now the 64th highest rated game on Xbox. I counted because I'm a nerd. But yeah, 64th highest rated game. All the reviews on the console are positive, which is really cool. But yeah, they're having a huge success on Xbox. And look, price obviously plays a huge factor in these things, but every time a company does one of these flash sales or something. It works. So the Crew 2, up in, I think about a month ago, it was 89p in the UK, and it got to number 2 on top paid section. So an 89p game or whatever it cost made more money than FIFA that week. Like, really think about that. It also helps that racing games are huge in the UK. But like everyone bought a copy of the Crew 2. It just works, and it's clearly working for this game. Now the question does, remain: what's going to happen with future Sony properties? I have seen a lot of people use this as in like, oh, the whole slate's coming. I don't think that. 505 published it. I do think it's selling well. Will make Sony maybe take a second look at putting some games on Xbox, such as the Lego Horizon game, maybe Spider-Man 1 in the future or something. Because there's money to be had. Games cost a tremendous amount of money now, and why not? I mean, I put it like this: like, what, Death Stranding came out 5 years ago. They couldn't have been getting many sales on PlayStation for that game at all anymore. So putting it on more platforms made sense. I think it's going to sell extremely well, especially through Christmas with more people getting more consoles and stuff. It's probably going to be put onto the Switch 2 at launch. Yeah, it's doing really well. I bet Kojima and 505 are really happy with this. Like, and I think in the US on the Xbox store, it's also like number 2. Some countries it's number 1. So like, it's gonna be a huge success. They're probably trying to get people ready for Death Stranding 2, which we don't know what the exclusivity window is like for that game. Who knows? I will say this though, there's a lot of people talking about Death Stranding 2 now in my feed. A lot of people seem really excited for it, so it looks like whatever they wanted to do works. I'm excited about the game. I'm wanting to get back to it, and calling this game a walking simulator. I mean, you do walk a lot, and it does simulate walking in a really cool way. But I will think that it's going to do well. Like, Logan, what do you think is going to happen with Death Stranding 2 now that this is out?
I think it is coming to Xbox. If it's timed or not, I don't know. But especially since Kojima has the rights to the IP now. Like, Sony sold it back to him. So he owns Death Stranding IP going forward, which is great. Like, I think individual studios and creators that aren't owned by a publisher or stuff, for the most part, should keep the rights to their IPs. Like, allow them to do something with it so you don't get a situation where you have a really cool idea or a one-off game and it rots because of just corporate reasons and never gets to see the light of day. Now he can do stuff with it. Like, I know he's already partnering with like A24 to adapt Death Stranding into like a show or movie type thing. So I'm really excited for it. I'm enthralled with it. I've been really really enjoying Death Stranding. Can't wait to get back to that. I do think the second one is 100 is I won't say 100%, but I'm very confident it is coming to the platform, whether timed or not. And I think just going forward, we're entering an age where, unless you're owned by Xbox or Sony, assume it's going everywhere.
Yeah. It is kind of weird because if you go back 10 years ago, none of this stuff was happening. Like, if a game was exclusive, it was exclusive. Now it could be like, hell, Sony, they put in a Lego game, a Lego Horizon game on a Nintendo Switch. Like, that's crazy. I think, unless you're a stockholder, like, should people really care? Not really. These games are costing way too much to make. There's too many layoffs, and like, do I think there's reason for exclusives in general, such as to sell platforms? Yeah, but I think for the most part, like, when companies see an opportunity where, like, I would say, like, before Sea of Thieves went to PlayStation, and I assume it's going to be on the Switch too. Like I was saying for like months, like I think it's going to go multi-platform because the way they calculate money, like how many more people are buying Xboxes and playing Sea of Thieves, like it kind of made sense because it reached its maximum sales potential on the platform. So yeah, that made sense. Um, so like we'll see what happens going forward. Sony are going to make changes to their business strategy going forward, which is smart. I mean, hell, they lost a lot of money with Concord, and developers lost their jobs and stuff. So it's crazy times we live in. Things are changing. Anyway, we'll move on. But yeah, Death Stranding. If people want something weird, get it while it's cheap because again, 19.99 in the US, 17.49 in the UK. That's a bloody good price for basically a new Kojima experience. And if you want to know what game development looks like while on acid, just play that. You'll get a good feel for it. Anyway, oh yeah, South of Midnight got a brand new like documentary today. I haven't been able to watch the whole thing, but I've basically seen a bunch of gameplay. And honestly, the game looks super cool. It uses this. I don't know the name of the art style. It uses a similar art style to Arcane on Netflix and the Spider-Verse movies. It's kind of like this like sort of stop motion, cell shaded thing. It looks cool. It's set in the deep south in the US or a fantasy version of it. There's giant bosses. You have powers in the game. It's a third-person action adventure. There's climbing elements. There's flying. There's gliding. It looks really cool. I like the style of it. I grew up in the UK, so where we have a lot of stop motion stuff, like Wallace and Gromit and all that stuff, Pingu. So I like the look of it. It looks really cool. Personally, I didn't expect it to have like such range when it came to big boss battles and stuff. I'm looking forward to it. Logan, did you check out the gameplay at all?
I haven't seen much of the gameplay yet. I've been watching the documentary, and I'm just blown away by like the amount of detail and time and effort they've put into this. Like the creative director grew up in the deep south, like bayou type regions with the swamps and all the folk tales and fairy tales and fables and that culture. And then they live up in Montreal, Quebec, which is a world away and very different from Louisiana. And just the idea of them adapting that and like these childhood stories and adapting it into a game format that pays tribute and homage to them, but also adapts for modernized gameplay and stuff is just so cool. And I love the art style. The gameplay looks really good. The bits I've seen, I'm just really fascinated with it. I have high hopes for it. I honestly think this might be the best game they make in quite some time for Xbox. Like there's just a vibe with it that it feels like it's hitting on all cylinders and it's like truly different but also mainstream enough like in type of gameplay and exploration to where it scratches both itches to where it's artsy but also like contemporary as well to where I feel like it'll be Xbox's next hit. I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait to play it. Hopefully it's not too long and it I kind of think them Compulsion and Double Fine are kind of going to be Xbox's kind of like Pixar type game studios where they do like these really artsy, creative, fun, and very different and bizarre type experiences. And then you've got like Ninja Theory who does like your cutting edge technology and immersion and narrative. And then you've got your RPG studios like Obsidian who is just incredible at writing and character development and world building. Everybody knows Bethesda's strengths. And then you've got all your shooter studios. You've got your racing studio. You've like they've got their bases covered, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will end up like that, and it's kind of different to a lot of other Xbox games. You know, it's a third-person, over-the-shoulder action adventure game. And thankfully, it isn't open world. Like, I'm,
And it's not Sad Dad.
yeah, no sad dad. But it doesn't look like it's going to be a long game. Which Nick asked about earlier on the show. Like, I looked at that game and thought, okay, that's a 20-hour game. And I'm all for that. I don't need bloated open worlds for everything. I just want some giant bosses, some cool powers, and that looks like it's going to be it. I mean, nothing really else I can say about it other than it looks cool. I hope it comes sooner rather than later. But like next year for Xbox, they're actually pretty stacked. You know, they actually have a wide variety of games launching throughout the year. So they're kicking off the beginning of the year in February with Avowed, which is a 30-plus hour RPG, which I think a lot of people are going to like. It's got first-person and third-person options. Then you've got Fable, which is an action RPG, big open world, fantasy. I think a lot of people will love that. Hell, it's Fable, you know. And then they have this third-person action adventure game that isn't open world. It looks different, and they have Call of Duty launching next year, which shocker to no one, which is meant to be a sequel to Black Ops 2. That's going to do really well. Apparently, that's going to have wall running. I don't know if I believe that or not, but who knows how that's going to affect multiplayer. But yeah, next year, it looks really good for Xbox. I think it's going to be a bunch of variety in the still games that's going to be announced. Apparently, we are getting the Fallout 3 remaster next year. Apparently, I know as a lot of people have been waiting on that, and I think Microsoft, it kind of makes sense because they've been wanting to capitalize on Fallout since the TV show hit. You know, Fallout 4 was the best-selling game across all of Europe in April this year, it's crazy. You know, that game is 9 years old, and it charted #1 in Europe. But I think it's going to be a good year for Xbox, and you know, I'll talk about this quickly because I don't know if you saw this, Logan. So Games Radar put out a tweet, an article about 2 hours ago or something, and it was titled, let me unlock my phone because it's acting up. So Games Radar put out this. There isn't much point in buying an Xbox console these days, but Walmart's Black Friday prices make them more tempting. Now, that is clickbaity beyond belief. And like Games Radar, if you scroll down their feed on Twitter, you'll notice that they have next to no engagements, and then they put out rage bait like this, which obviously gets reactions. I can't believe we're still at this point where people are saying that. You know, like I have no interest in PC gaming, right? I prefer console gaming. That's just me, you know. And I prefer console gaming on Xbox. I like the ecosystem. I like the fan base. I like the games. I like the features. And so for me, there's obviously a reason to buy an Xbox. And there's millions of people out there that it makes sense to buy an Xbox. And you have these big media websites, gaming media websites, that they still pushing this crap years later. And every time I point it out, one or two journalists that do follow me on Twitter, they tell me I'm wearing a tinfoil hat, that I'm making this stuff up, when you can literally see with your eyeballs that there's something fishy going on here. Like,
because you're saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, people don't like it when I point it out, but I'm pointing it out. Like, it is very obvious. Like, we can all see it, you know? I mean, hell, people want to say Microsoft is a third-party publisher. So is Sony. But we don't see these articles popping out every single day. And it's just tiring, you know? It's, like, I put this, for people out there that, you know, spam my replies and, you know, they do the whole fanboy thing. Like, these people that want Xbox to go away still 20 years later, 20 plus years later, they aren't gamers at all. They don't even deserve to be in this space. They keep coming out with this bullshit, and I try not to swear on my channel, but they keep coming out with this stuff time and time again, and they don't realize the harm they're doing to the space. Like, imagine the gaming space if Xbox wasn't around anymore. Like, really think that. Games would be $100. You'd be paying $1,000 for a console. Like, And who knows what the online space would be like if Xbox never got into the game. Remember, they came out with their online ecosystem with the 360 and the original Xbox. It would be a mess. It's just ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. And the fact is that people actually forgive this and defend this, when people should want it fair across the board. And people that just defend it, they're hypocrites. You know, like, hell, I want Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation to all thrive. That was the best thing about the 7th generation, by the way. In the end, everyone succeeded, right? The Wii, a ridiculous amount of units out there. You know, Xbox and PlayStation, ridiculous amount of units out there. Everyone had a variety of games. Everyone had success on some level. And the toxicity wasn't like it was today. Like, people get really toxic in the gaming space, and it's fucking tiring. People do this on a daily basis, and they don't see what they're doing wrong. They don't see an issue with it. And that is kind of jarring. You know? Logan, what's your take on this? Because, like, it's a very tiring thing, and the fact that we're seeing this from Games Radar in 2024 still.
Yeah, it's just sad at this point. It's like, find a new slant. That's so 5 minutes ago. It's just, it's juvenile, it's dumb, and, they should honestly just make a social media site, grifters only or something, for just all this dumb garbage that keeps coming across the timeline. And yeah, it is what it is, and it's hilarious when you bring it up, you call it out, because you're like, I have eyes to see and I have ears to hear, and what these things are telling and showing me is clearly there's some shenanigans going on, and some skewed views on some things, or biases against stuff. And then people are, oh, no, that's just crazy. Or, they wouldn't do that. They're not really like that. Or, oh, you're just being salty, or this or this. It's like, oh, okay. All right, buddy. All right. Do the 2 thumbs up and, whatever. Walk away. It's just, it's dumb at this point.
Yeah. I think, it's just tiring. I've been covering gaming for a long time now, and people just let it slide. They just don't want things to change, and, like, it benefits really no one in the end outside of the toxic idiots online. Anyway, we'll move on. So Indiana Jones is just around the corner. It launches in less than a month, and we got a big gameplay deep dive, I believe, yesterday, and it looks good. So basically, I'm trying to think how to put this. Machine games are really well known for their first-person shooters. They make really intricate action-based combat, and if you've ever played the Wolfenstein games, they are they are crazy when it comes to the action. But one of the cool things about Wolfenstein games by them is that they have a lot of variety and options. There's certain levels in Wolfenstein games that give you multiple different paths to get from one end to the other. There's secrets, there's hidden things, there's collectibles, all that type of stuff. And they do a really good job at it. And I was watching this gameplay thinking, it's like a Wolfenstein game, but basically with way more immersive sim elements. And immersive sim elements in games, I absolutely love, because we don't get enough of them. I think, like, the last time we got an immersive sim, a proper one, was what? Dishonored 2? If that?
Prey.
Yeah, Prey, Dishonored 2, Deus Ex, Mankind Divided. We don't get them often, but this had immersive sim written all over it. You can go into areas, take out enemies stealthily, or full action-based combat with your whip, pistol. You can use melee objects such as hammers, wrenches, baseball bats, whatever. And it looks like a genuine fun adventure. Troy Baker is Harrison Ford. I'm not even kidding. You would think it's actually Harrison Ford. He does such a good job voicing that character. I hope they use him in future projects that are Indiana Jones, maybe animated shows or whatever. The game looks phenomenal graphically, which is really cool. It's machine games. They always put out really good visuals and performance. But all in all, the game looks fantastic. I think a lot of people that want a single player action adventure game that's slightly different, people are going to like this, because this is like, they could have gone the safe route and made an Uncharted clone, right? If this was a third person action adventure game, that's all people would call it. It's a third person, Tomb Raider, Uncharted clone. But this is a first person action adventure game, and it's going to have variety with puzzle elements. Again, the immersive sim element is huge for me because we don't get them that often. I think the game looks fantastic. It comes out in a few weeks, less than a month, and it's also going to get a single player expansion post launch. They haven't really talked about what that's going to entail. But yeah, the game looks fantastic. It's set all the way across the globe. The Egypt mission in particular looks incredible. Logan, what do you think of it? Because it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I can't wait. I love Indiana Jones. Harrison Ford was an idol of mine growing up. Like, I just I love his acting, all his characters, just Indiana, Han Solo, all that, and it just the story looks really well crafted. It looks like a proper Indiana Jones film, but a game. It Machine Games is already well known for great narrative writing. Like they took a pretty, just boring, straight up like military grunt type guy and BJ Black. I can't even pronounce his last name. I'm not even gonna try, but you know who I'm talking
Yeah.
about from Wolfenstein, and turned him into like a very nuanced, awesome character. And then Anya, his family, his friends, his associates, the enemies, the Nazis. Like, man, they took an old like Doom clone that was just World War II skinned and made it into like something crazy, just awesome. And now they're doing taking all that experience and talent into Indiana Jones, and we already know like there's no one better at beating Nazis than them. So it's just gonna be a great time. Swing from place to place, save treasure, fight the Germans, save the world. Get back and teach class in time. It's gonna be great. I can't wait.
Yeah, one of the main reasons I've been looking forward to this for a long time is that I love Indiana Jones, but outside of those three movies, um, it's been slim pickings. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it has its fun moments, but it all goes downhill. And then you have the Dial of Destiny, and like, oh my god, I could cry. The first 25 minutes of the Dial of Destiny is some of the best Indiana Jones ever put on screen. And then after those 25 minutes, it's just an awful film. Awful. And this looks prime Indiana Jones. It's set during the trilogy, which is great. It's going to have huge single-player action set pieces, which we've kind of seen from previous Wolfenstein games, which we haven't seen on this scale. But all in all, it looks like it's going to be a fun ride, and Indiana Jones fans, it looks like people are really going to have to play this. Like, I've seen some really big Indiana Jones fan, like, collectors, that they can't stop talking about this game, Again, if you want good Indiana Jones, we haven't had a lot of content for a long time. If people ever get interested and want to search this up, back on the Xbox 360 and PS3, we were originally going to get this third-person Indiana Jones action-adventure game, and it looked amazing, and it got cancelled.
I remember the Game Informer on it.
Yeah, it looked so good. In fact, there was an action set-piece mission that was going to be basically taking place on the top of a tram cart in San Francisco.
Yes.
Like, that, I'm not even kidding, that scene in that game has lived in my head rent-free since I saw it. Right? It looked so good, and I still remember it all these years later, and so many cool games lost to time. I mean, hell, if you gave me 2 hours, I could talk about all the cancelled Stargate games. That's just heartbreaking. So many Stargate games cancelled. Anyway, we're talking about Indiana Jones, not Stargate. But yeah, it looks great. Comes out on, the 9th of December. Looks fantastic. I'm guessing we'll get preloads soon for that. Next up, let's talk about. Let's see. Oh, Logan, you wanted to talk about the U.S. regulators quickly.
Yeah, just a brief, update. Like basically, how the ABK thing went. It dragged on for a couple years because the climate was such that regulators across the globe were in a crusade against tech and big business and mergers acquisitions wanted to crack down on stuff. And you know, in the U.S. now, with new election results coming in, this upcoming administration has shown to have more of a mindset and policies that are more for more favorable for acquisitions and mergers than the previous. So, not saying that there's going to be big ticket purchases on deck or anything like that, but if Xbox were so inclined to make purchases again or other American companies, the next 4 years would be a wise idea for them to get on that. Because who knows what will happen after that. Administrations in the U.S. can change so dramatically. With you not only get the head of everything, and then you've got cabinets and people in charge of certain agencies and everything, and policies can completely and philosophies can completely do a 180 from the previous. And so it's like, whoa, I thought business was closed. Now business is open, or vice versa. So just something to keep an eye on and keep your ear to the ground on, that don't necessarily expect something's going to happen in the next 4 years, but it's much more likely now than it seemed like it was going to be. And I would expect this FTC thing to officially get dealt with pretty quickly at this point. As soon as new administration and people are put in charge, starting in January, I think 20 something is when the new administration takes place. I can't remember off the top of my head. But so expect that to, and stuff, cases like that to be less of an issue for Xbox. Might be more of an issue for Sony, honestly, going forward, seeing as they are not 100% based here and they are originally a Japanese company. Nintendo, some of these others, Tencent maybe will think twice maybe about buying some things over here because of the policy shifts. So just be on the lookout for that. And I'll be glad when this FTC thing is done and everybody can just 100% focus on the games from ABK going forward.
Yeah, I think for me, honestly, I don't really care about seeing any more major acquisitions. Like they have enough, like they don't need to get another
I feel
publisher.
you.
Like maybe the occasional developer. Like I've always thought IO Interactive would suit Xbox very well. Um, like developers like that, maybe Remedy. But like no more publishers. Plus, I can't be bothered to go through the whole rigmarole again of FTC, ABK, blah 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 blah. Like it's just I can't be dealing with it.
To
it's
me, I would be thinking, oh, okay, go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
I was just saying I just can't be bothered to do the whole process again.
Oh yeah, I don't think a publisher would be a thing either, or I don't want that. I was thinking more lines of like a individual studio, like say a Crystal or an Eidos or something like that. Take them off of Embracer's hands maybe, because they're always hurting for money,
Yeah.
and they're already working on your own games anyway. So that way you'd have a permanent in-house studio for Perfect Dark and the help with Fable and other stuff. They're talented, and just those are two in particular that come to mind.
Yeah, Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, they would make sense. Plus, I might actually get my Deus Ex game then. Uh, I'm still triggered that they cancelled that, by the way. like, we were so close to getting a new Deus Ex, and they just threw it away because Embracer's cheap. Like, I hope we see some good stuff out of this, but like, if I see a merger between, like, I don't know, like, people keep going on about Sega, like Xbox getting Sega. Honestly, the initial, announcement would be shocking, and it would be cool to make. I could make content on it, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's just like, it's another story that people are just gonna churn into BS straight away. The grifters are gonna go with it. I just can't be bothered. I'd rather Microsoft just not purchase them, just so I can be left alone. You know. But hopefully it leads to some good stuff. Now, let's talk about the Xbox handheld, because this thing's just not going away. We constantly hearing that it's happening. Sarah Bond from Xbox is constantly talking about portable gaming. Phil Spencer's constantly talking about portable gaming. And whenever they asked about a portable Xbox, they've never said no at all. They never say it's not happening. Every time they're being questioned on it, they always say it would be cool, wouldn't it? Like, they won't deny it at all. And people have been coming out over the past, I think it was Jez Corden from Windows Central, that the Xbox handheld is potentially happening next year. And, like, getting that out a year before the next gen consoles, like, who knows how that's going to play. But I'm interested because I want to know what a native Xbox handheld looks like. Can I play Xbox 360 games on that? Or just Xbox Series games? Or Xbox One games? Original Xbox games? Will it have the same feature set as an Xbox Series console, such as quick resume, auto HDR, FPS boost? Will it have all those features? Will it have a different UI? Will it be able to connect to PC stores, such as Steam and the Epic Game Store? Those are all questions that need to be answered, and they will. But it looks like things are happening, and we could be seeing it next year. I know we've talked about this handheld non-stop because Microsoft, they technically don't shut up about it either, but they aren't denying it, and we keep hearing that it's coming next year. Logan, what's your thought? Because it looks like it is happening.
Yeah, I'm convinced that we are getting a reveal or announcement next year. There just keeps being more and more buzz about it. Jez just from Windows Central, he just had an article today, brand new. Check it out, and he included some tidbits in there about some future plans from Xbox, citing sources familiar with the process and thinking there at Xbox HQ. That sounds like that handheld will be a thing next year. Just it sounds like straight up it's going to be a thing next year. So to go along with the Switch. So I'm very excited for that whenever they do officially reveal it. And I'm a day one for it if it's native. Like 100%. I really want one. I've always wanted one like that. I love my cloud device, but being able to natively play it where I don't have to be tethered to Wi-Fi, or if I'm on the go, I can play my games like in the car, like basically like a quadruple X Game Boy, basically. But for Xbox games, like heck yeah, like sign me up day one. And speaking of that, we should be this month getting the ability to play approved games from our libraries on cloud that aren't just Game Pass games. So keep your eyes out for that. That should be still happening this month. So all in all, sounds like I believe handheld next year. And Jez also said that there's a couple other surprises up their sleeve for next year to entice Xbox folks and keep people excited outside of the already known projects. So good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've talked about this a million times, and everyone knows. Like Xbox is like they have a roadmap. We know of games coming. They have more games coming than they have so many games coming that they haven't announced everything yet. And it looks like going forward, they're going to have a roadmap for every year without any breaks, which is really good for all of us. All they have to do, literally the simplest thing in the world, just be focused with messaging. That is Xbox's kryptonite, messaging. If they are crystal clear, everything will be fine. They'll continue to grow, and who knows what's happening next year. But like the handheld hype, there's a lot of people been wanting a handheld for years. Like hell, I remember back with the original Xbox, people were talking about a portable Xbox, and back then I thought that was just
Oh, the
outlandish.
Xbox 720.
Yeah, like can you imagine if they did call it the Xbox 720? Oof.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, like
Uh,
that wouldn't have went down well. But um, I think Xbox, they just have to they have to get the name of their console right. By the way, I've mentioned this a million times. Some people have said I was wrong. I'm 100% right, and I will die on this hill. Their next Xbox should be called the Xbox 6. Nobody cares about numbers, right? End the weird naming convention once and for all. Just call it Xbox 6. We never got an iPhone 9. Nobody complained. We never got a Windows 9. Nobody complained. Just rip the band-aid off. People will get over it. And call the handheld the Xbox 6 Go or whatever they want to call it. Just keep things simple. Hell, they could do Roman numerals if they want. But like, it looks like next year is going to be an exciting time to be a gamer, and I think on Xbox there's tons of games coming. There's a lot of cool games coming, a lot of variety. I mean, hell, there's so much variety that people are constantly port begging their games still. Like, who would have thought? But jokes aside, it's an exciting time to be a gamer. Xbox, they are focusing on what's important most: games. And for the longest time, like, Xbox didn't have a roadmap. They didn't have enough studios for a roadmap. And now they have so many studios that they have to push games to next year because of how packed the year is. So it's a good time to be an Xbox gamer. Anyway, Logan, have you got anything else to go over before we close out the show?
no, just very very excited for the roadmap, and hopefully the TGA's actually has some good Xbox stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with the TGAs this year. Um, you know, ever since Jeff Keighley side talked out, saying, "Oh, Genshin Impact, it's coming to that Xbox," you know, I don't. And by the way, people talk about Game of the Year every year, like it's the end of the world, like it's the be all and end all. When the Game Awards, it isn't even an award show. It's a trailer show with awards in it, right?
Yeah.
The like their close off date is in like what, November? Like, why don't they hold off till like March? Because that's what the BAFTA Game Awards does, by the way. They wait till March or April, let all the games play out, let the what do you call them, the voters, they let them play all the games that released that year, and then they hand out all the awards. But on the Game Awards, there's a huge focus on trailers, and the trailers are nice, don't get me wrong, but there's a huge focus on trailers. It doesn't mean anything. Like, they have awards at that showcase that aren't even given off on stage. And they have a ton of awards. Nobody cares. Like, who's the best esports coach? Really? That's an award? Logan, can you name me one esports coach?
No.
Exactly. No one
I
can.
don't know any.
Yeah, no one can. And don't get me wrong. I think esports can be entertaining, but really, best esports coach. That's what we're giving awards out for. Really, really, and you're gonna give those awards off stage, off camera. So, what you're saying, that award doesn't mean anything? It means less than best indie soundtrack. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And if you took away all of those awards, sorry, all of those trailers, would they get the same viewing numbers? No. And the
Nope.
and the main reason we get the Game Awards in December, and just going off how ads work, there's more ads in December than any month of the rest of the year, meaning they can charge more and they get more ad revenue off views, right? Now, I think the Jeff Keighley Game Awards, it's came a long way. It's actually entertaining, and I actually like a lot of the game reveals there. But we have to get past talking about the Game Awards as being the definitive Game Awards. And I'm doing air quotes for people that can't see me. It's a 3-hour commercial. 3-hour commercial, or you have some dude coming out on stage dressed up as a Gillette razor. Or what's this? They have a Muppet on stage talking about things. Like, is this by the way, Logan, is this an American thing? Because I swear, for like 2 years in a row, they have a Muppet on stage at the Game Awards. And it's like, a Muppet's big in the US at the minute.
I honestly don't get it either. Like, I was never a Muppet guy to begin with, so I always roll my eyes when I see it. It's like the Fallout 76 or Elder Scrolls Online segment of a Xbox stream. It's like, okay, I take nap now. It's I don't know. A it's a marketing event trying to masquerade as a black tie awards event, and it is what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that. Anyway, everyone in chat, for the most part, has been excellent once again. We'll be back for a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast next Tuesday. Depending on what's happening, I have this idea floating around. I don't know when or if it'll happen. That normally I set up the podcast about 2 hours or 90 minutes before the show starts, and for about 30 minutes before the show starts, I'm sitting bored waiting. Because we start at 11 UK time and 6 p.m. Eastern. So theoretically, maybe starting next week, I don't know. I want to maybe start doing this green room thing where the podcast starts at its regular time, but for maybe 15 minutes or 30 minutes beforehand, just be talking, just with chat, just about, random game stuff. And then maybe when the video's finally finished or the stream's done, I'll cut that part out. Depends on what people think. If people in chat like the idea of that, I'll do it. Just normally, literally 30 minutes before the show starts, I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs because, I'm waiting. But just an idea floating around. Anyway, back at the same time next week. Our, social media links are in the description down below. For Twitter, my Twitter, Logan's Twitter. I'm also on Threads and Blue Sky for people that are interested. Not much of a community over there yet, but I mean, again, those are still newer social medias. The link to my previous video is 20 biggest new games coming to Xbox Series X and S in November and December is down below. Took a long time to make because I've been sick, but hope people enjoy it and check it out. There's a lot of cool games coming out these next 2 months. Anyway, we are out, everybody. Have a good day.